James, blogger extraordinaire, restaurateur, popping up all over the place with different things, and a writer for quite a few newspapers.
That sums it up quite well. Yeah, I'm sort of rather got lax on the old blogging of late, but thankfully more active on the writing. And the supper club pop-up restaurant thing is a weekly commitment. And no, life in food is good.
You're enjoying it. What got you into it in the first place?
Combination of greed. I've always actually said when people ask why did you start cooking, and I do think this is genuine, is that when I was younger, if you cooked, then you didn't have to wash up. And so I thought, oh, good, I'll get in on that. Yeah. And it meant actually you got involved with the food and could pick as you went, and found out that I actually loved to cook. And actually I don't mind washing up either, so...
That's a good way in, as good a way in as any. Your first book, Small Adventures in Cooking, when did that come out?
That came out in June 2011.
Right.
As part of a series called New Voices in Food, which was sort of looking to get the young up-and-coming writers and bloggers and chefs, such as Stevie Pearl, who's at the Dot Kitchen, book deals. And it was a great opportunity to get a foot on the ladder.
And your inspiration behind it was?
Well, it was a combination of... I've dedicated the book to my sister Mary, who I lived with, but it was really for all my peers and friends and people I'd have endless conversations with, and they'd say, oh, I love to cook, but I find this difficult, or I find this scary, or this, that, t'other. And there was always an excuse as to why they'd either have a takeaway or cook the same thing night after night. And so it was really about taking fairly basic ideas and just giving them an extra sort of gussy up to make them more interesting and more exciting, and hopefully make cooking a bit more of an interesting thing to do in the evening as opposed to a chore.
Do you think that people have a repertoire they work with and are sometimes a little frightened to step outside of that?
Absolutely. I mean, that was we all do, including I do. And it's not necessarily just about comfort. It's sometimes just about ease of cooking. And you think, well, and even thought space. Sometimes you just don't want to spend an afternoon planning dinner. Sometimes it's one of the nicest ways to spend an afternoon. But if you've got a lot on at work, I think people just slip into autopilot and go in and they'll buy their mince and pasta and an onion and go home and make spag bol again. Which makes cooking very boring, and it makes life more expensive because actually you stop cooking and you start spending money in restaurants, which is, again, a lovely thing to do on occasion, but I'm all about the cooking.
What about the second book?
So the second book was, I think, almost in my head before I wrote that. As soon as I started The Secret Larder Supper Club, I thought I've got to do a book based on all of this because I was enjoying what I was cooking and people seemed to enjoy eating it. And also I just thought I'd always wanted to do a book based around each chapter being a different course. Not in a sort of formal way. I didn't want to have sort of consommes and sorbet palate cleansers, but just in a informal, entertaining people. And just by the sort of process of the way I had to cook in the flat where the supper club used to be, it was open plan. Guests would arrive straight into the kitchen. So the kitchen couldn't be all sorts of chaos. Had to be like a duck, completely smooth on the surface, paddling very fast beneath. And so, as much as possible, I did it all ahead, and then the food was just once everyone arrived, I'd give them a drink and have a chat and say, hi, thanks for coming, and then I could serve them without the sort of stress. So that's why the book is called Do Ahead Dinners.
Oh, I see. I was in Waitrose on the weekend, and I noticed you in very prominent display there. It's a good-looking book. Tell me a little bit about it. Talk me through it. I love the bread section, by the way. I thought that was very clever what you did there.
Well, yeah, I mean, bread in particular. Bread, as I talked about actually on my radio slot, is in the last 5 years it seems just become such a different beast as opposed to even me when I first started writing about food vaguely seriously. I would still reach for the, Warburton seeded batch for my morning toast. And now it wouldn't even occur to me. Not through any snobbery, just because we've discovered really good bread. Sure. But I think with that also comes the idea that it's quite a sort of rarefied and difficult thing to do, which of course it is when you're getting involved with sort of sourdough and the complex end of bread. But actually just to throw together a simple loaf.
But you've done that very well here because you start off on the simple thing, don't you? And you talk about
Yeah.
how easy it is to prepare it the night before, and
Yeah.
it's ready for you the next morning.
I think a homemade loaf, even of really simple like bread rolls, they're just better. It's just
Well, I totally agree.
unbeatable. So so there's a bread chapter, and then the point of the book is to make anybody who wants to cook for their friends but finds it potentially sort of rather stressful, to take that stress out of it. So 80% of each recipe can be done in advance, and then there's so each recipe is broken down into what you can do ahead and then what you do at the last minute. So hopefully, I mean, I'm waiting for feedback from people who've tried it, but hopefully it does take the stress out of entertaining. So there's a nibbles chapter, and then I never quite know what the best word is, because canapes isn't right.
No.
Nibbles is twee.
Small eats doesn't sound right.
Yeah, eats, snacks. Anyway, one day someone will find a good word. So like Scotch eggs, that's my favourite of all, which are very on trend, but I'm not
If you like it, why
don't
not?
get too bogged down by that. And then there's sort of starter, soups. I'm particularly excited and delighted by the photographs in this book, because
They're good, aren't they?
I just think Yuki Sugiura, who did these, is a genius.
But there also, what I like about it is the feel of the book. It feels like a book you would use to cook within the kitchen, not leave on your coffee table. It's a book that it's manly. It's a book you can use. Yeah.
Yeah.
James, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you for having me. It's been a
nice to
pleasure.
talk with you.
Yeah, you too.